Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the third in our series of smarter content, unlocking valuable content for next generational applications. Joining me today will be James Kenwood, Senior Customer Success Manager for Progress, with a whole host of experience in the publishing world, along with Balvinder Dang, CEO and co-founder of one of our key partners here at Progress, DataVid. So really, we're here to talk about what's going on in the content industry that is changing the nature of the business. This quote here is quite good at illustrating that. The purpose, form, and function of enterprise applications is undergoing a permanent transformational change. And that's really being driven by the content underneath those applications. And so the smarter you can get your content, the smarter you can get your applications. And this is one of the challenges that this is going to solve. Knowledge workers spend on average, 2.5 hours a week, or roughly 30% of a workday, searching for information. This is according to IDC, and this is an enterprise knowledge problem. It's an enterprise content problem. It's an enterprise data problem. And traditional enterprise search is getting this there, but we need to move beyond that now, and look at next generational applications of smarter content, combined with the likes of Gen AI to help further solve this problem. Applications are going to change. So, they're tools at the moment. They're something you use and then you kind of forget. And employees are going to start executing their work into intelligent systems that work on behalf of the employees. They're going to work with them, for them, to help develop, create, disseminate content to their customers in new ways of sharing that content, in discovering that content, in using that content. And this is when generative AI applications are going to be top of mind for investment for business leaders. And this investment is going to continue into next year. I think we're already seeing some of the successes in this area. But as well, we're seeing some of those challenges. 30% of projects, and I like this quote because it's clickbait, and I don't like it because it's clickbait, but I'll explain why. So 30% of Gen AI projects are abandoned, according to Gartner's research, due to poor quality data, inadequate risk controls, and escalating costs or unclear business value. But that means 70% of those projects are delivering value in this. And those projects, when they actually polled people to say, well, what value are you getting out of these? Out of the 800 plus respondents that they had from this survey that had deployed Gen AI applications successfully, they were getting over 15% increased revenue returns. They were getting over 15% increased operational efficiency, and they were getting double digits of cost savings to their business as well. And so it's really showing the value of AI. And what we think is we have a new way of looking at Gen AI, where we can help those that are deploying successful applications to scale and grow those applications, but also help this 30% that are having to abandon it because they've got this poor quality data in their business. And so it becomes about getting an agile metadata strategy around your data, around your content, making it so that it manages the complexity that is in your business, that's in the area of your business, in those domains that are important to you, making it sustainable for that growth and innovation, both architecturally and organizationally, aligning with business priorities and needs, and enabling organizations to iterate and refine not just the data, but the knowledge model of the data based on the business needs and the feedback from your customers, from your users. It's about getting the right content to the right people at the right time, allowing users to spend that less, those 2.5 hours being productive rather than trying to look for that information. It's about delivering answers they need when they need them. So today, if you've got any questions for our panelists, please look at the right-hand side of your screen. Click the little hand button there that you can see in the GoToWebinar control panel. Type your question in, and we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end of our session during our dedicated Q&A portion of the event. If we can't get to your question because we're overrunning for whatever reason, then we'll make sure to reach out afterwards and provide you those answers that you need, connect you with the right people that you're looking to connect with, and we can continue the conversation afterwards. So with all that out of the way, let me hand over to James Kenwood now, and he will take you through his unlocking content for next generational applications. Thanks very much. James?
Okay, thanks, Phil. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today to talk about unlocking valuable content for next generation applications. As Phil mentioned, this is the third in a sequence of events that we have held regarding smarter content. The first one really focused on content creation and how you can utilize an authoring tool like Fonto with MarkLogic to streamline your creation process. You can look to add metadata early on and begin to segment your content into smaller chunks. The next session was all around enrichment. And that's to say the ways in which you can add metadata to your content to make it more discoverable by classifying it and extracting facts. We had the Canadian Press join us to talk about their use of semantic technology. So it's a really great one to go back and listen to if you can. If you missed either of those, the QR codes are on screen to register for those recordings. Today's session briefly recaps on some of those points and then starts to talk about the practical applications that you can build with the smarter content that you've created. So let's remind ourselves what we mean when we say smarter content. To us, it's content that you've already enriched by adding not just basic metadata like names and dates and formats and things, but semantically rich information, which relates to the content to the concept in your knowledge model, relating versions of content together and tying it all back to products and right information. So you create this rich, semantically designed graph of metadata that's associated between the content and the ways that it can be interrogated, discovered, and reused in new ways. The key 3 steps that we talked about is, first of all, identify your knowledge models. Now, this needn't be a huge chore. Every company has managed lists of products, departments, topics, things that are important to the way the business operates and you define your products. These can be used, as can external knowledge models that might be industry relevant. You can bring those into a product like Semaphore and build that knowledge model in there. We can even support you developing these models with our new AI side panel in Semaphore that allows you to use an LLM to actually start to suggest concepts and alternate labels in your model. So then the next step is defining the metadata that you want to apply. These needn't be comprehensive at the start. We can iterate on those and start to build them out as your requirements and knowledge increases. And the third step is that by utilizing a rules-based product like Semaphore, you can begin to classify your content against these knowledge models and then extract further facts. All of this comes together to create content that has context and meaning, opening up to the next generation of applications. So what are those kind of use cases that this opens up? Well, there's a variety of uses for smarter content that our customers are already benefiting from, and new use cases that they are starting to implement right now. And we're going to cover a few of those briefly today. This isn't an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. There are lots of things that your organization might come up with, but it gives a flavor of the possibilities and what our customers are already looking to implement. So smarter search is the most common use case, where semantically enriched content and interfaces can delight your customers by giving them the right information when they need it, using the terms that they understand. Adaptive packaging is a really interesting one. It's all about taking the smaller semantically tagged content and dynamically repackaging it based on a customer or business demand. So for example, if you see a growing trend of people searching for carbon capture on your website, your SMEs can start to enhance your knowledge model to ensure that relevant terms, alternate labels, and concepts are added to that model. And then new portals or products can be created dynamically to offer up the content that you've enriched inside your repository. You can use that knowledge model to drive the packaging and drive the way that your consumers want to purchase it. Operational efficiency. The Progress Data Platform has the unique ability to unlock unstructured text and bring meaning to it, but it also integrates with structured operational data. So this combination opens up possibilities for improving efficiencies. So think of a manufacturing organization who's receiving thousands of documents related to their parts auditing, their ordering, their consumption. Documents can include purchase orders, invoices, specification sheets, user manuals, all sorts of things. We can automate the classification of these documents and extract key values such as prices, parts numbers, specifications, measurements, and store these as structured metadata. We can then compare these measurements to existing parts catalogs to improve data quality, validate specifications, ensuring that identical parts are not entered twice. We can streamline the process and make sure that incorrect specifications are rooted out. Unlocking value, all content creators have large repositories of data that can be enhanced with tools like content classification and fact extraction. This can unlock value not previously imagined when the content was authored. And we're going to come back to an example on that shortly. And the last two are really around these new applications that are getting so much traction at the moment, and a lot of interest for our customers. So answer engines. This really sits with the unbelievable growth and capabilities of LLMs. Our customers want to take their internal private data and be able to ask detailed questions and get detailed, accurate, trustworthy answers without the users having to look through hundreds of search results. And we've got some more to cover on that later. And generative AI. LLMs are great at summarizing content, but their output is not always accurate. And we can help validate that output by checking it against known knowledge models and actually giving you richer responses. So let's start with a simple example that brings together a couple of key concepts. We created a recipe database of simple recipes with ingredients and steps to cook them. We also created a knowledge model in Semaphore to describe ingredients in a simple hierarchy. So it probably comes as no surprise that we can classify those recipes against the knowledge model. So you can turn the unstructured text from the recipe to metadata, where we can list all of the ingredients you have and allowing for broader semantic search across narrower related terms. But we can also take that a little bit further. If we extend our model to cover the relationship between ingredients and dietary requirements, so obviously meat in a recipe prohibits it being suitable for vegetarians, and the inclusion of pork prohibits for veggies and kosher diets. The original recipe doesn't contain any of that information. We've created new facts using the source content and our model in Semaphore. So now we could amend our search UI to allow people to filter results based on their dietary requirements. And we can take it a bit further, as ingredients are also related to allergens. If we added to our model a list of known allergens and how they relate to ingredients, now we can offer up the ability to filter out recipes for those that have a dietary or nut allergy. We haven't amended our content in any way. This value is being generated from the content without the original author being aware of it. The knowledge is in our model, and we're bringing the two together to create more value than was there originally. This is what we mean by unlocking value and enhancing the search experience to delight customers. But what if the customer searches for a term that's not in our model? Well, we can use the power of smarter content and semantics to start enhancing our response and building our knowledge. So here we've got an example where someone searched for baba ganoush. So we go away and we search MarkLogic and we find that we don't have any recipes in MarkLogic for that. So then we go away and look in our knowledge model and say, okay, do you know what the term baba ganoush means? And it's not in Semaphore. So what we can now do is go out and ask that question of an OpenAI or an LLM and say, what does baba ganoush mean? And it can give us a response to explain what the term baba ganoush is. And now we can take that response and actually go back to Semaphore and say, in that response, are there any concepts that you understand? Or we can say, okay, we understand what an eggplant is. We understand olive oil, lemon juice. Now we can find matching recipes in MarkLogic based on those concepts that we've had returned from the OpenAI. And we can say to the customer, we don't have any baba ganoush recipes, but perhaps you might like these. We can also take that term and start to put it back into our knowledge model and say, okay, should we use baba ganoush in our model going forward? We've engaged our customer, we've given them a response, and we're learning at the same time. So now let's talk about the last two use cases, those that are built on the transformative abilities of generative AI. Everyone is, I'm sure, aware of the shortcomings of generative AI-based solutions. The one that gets the most attention is the hallucinations, but the fact that they don't have your private data, there's a lack of reasoning, the potential to leak sensitive data are all major concerns. Well, the Progress Data Platform has some amazing capabilities that allow you to get the best of all of the worlds. Take your content chunks that you've been richly tagged against your knowledge model and combine them with an LLM to create truly impressive results. That's known as retrieval augmented generation with semantic context, or RAG with semantics for short. So let's review how a Gen AI in a RAG solution works and how Progress adds value. A user enters a query, which gets interpreted by Progress Data Platform. We're looking for the key concepts in the user's query by comparing it to our semantic model. Think of that baba ganoush example. This allows us to find things like alternate labels, broader and narrower terms, and build an understanding of what the user's asking. Now we can query the data platform to pull back all the relevant documents from our repository. If we've created smarter content, these will be snippets of content highly focused on the semantic concepts we're looking for and what we've taken from the user's query. This produces a more accurate prompt with our private data and our understanding that we can pass to the Gen AI, increasing the quality of the response we're going to get back. Once the response is returned from the Gen AI, we can post-process it against our model to, if we require, to validate it and make sure there's no PII in there or information that we're not comfortable with before we can link back and annotate it to the user. And that annotation gives the links back to the original sources of information that we pass the generative AI. So your user asked a question, we've given it our private data and knowledge, we've got a great response back from the AI, and we can track it back to the information that we have in our system so the user has faith and trust in what we've given them. So how do we go about this? Well, you connect your data all in a single repository. And if you're using MarkLogic to store your content, you've already delivered this step. You enrich your content with context and meaning. Again, if you're using smart content, you've already achieved this step. We enhance the query with the knowledge from our model. And if you're using smarter content, you've already achieved this step. So this is about why we're building smarter content. And all of this return gives you accurate facts, but are augmented from the Gen AI using the smarter content and giving a fantastic response to your customer. So with smarter content, and the enrichment you've already done, you're in a great place to start using this generative AI use cases. So all of this comes together as a RAG approach enhanced with knowledge graphs, meaning it's scalable and efficient. It's easy to update. There's a human in the loop that can make sure that the knowledge is of good quality and meets your business requirements. And you consistently receive fact-based information with less hallucinations. So we created an application to demonstrate how this works. We took our internal product documentation and semantically tagged it in RAG with semantics. We can ask the platform a question, and the first pane gives us the response from the public LLM without any private data. The next pane provides some private data insight, and the third pane introduces the semantic knowledge graph. In this example, we asked about mark logic and digital twins. That is a digital representation of a real entity like an aircraft. The LLM has a response that it found some information on the public web, and our private data brings a bit more accuracy where we can bring in our internal data. So you can see in this case, it's mentioned in Boeing. And then in the final one, it adds a bit more color to the response. But where it really starts to have power is if we ask it a term that wasn't originally used to describe the content. A device shadow is another way to describe a digital twin. The LLM can't answer because it wasn't trained on any content from MarkLogic with the term device shadow in it. Our internal documentation is not much better because it's not a term we've ever used internally when we're talking about digital twins. But by combining with a knowledge model, we can understand that device shadow is a type of a digital twin, and now we offer up the correct content. So this slide provides a great summary of the benefits that we've already talked about around a semantic RAG-based solution. But I want to take a few minutes just to talk through the benefits of the smarter content approach and how that plays into this. The Progress Data Platform really allows you to achieve a whole bunch of things that allow you to drive this RAG solution. And the first of all, let's talk about chunking, the way that you segment your content around a semantic topic. As an XML native database, we understand the structure of your XML and JSON, so we can provide the ability to tag your content and even split it into multiple documents. With security, we allow you to partition your data in so many different ways, and you've got all the power of MarkLogic search to actually select the right snippets. And all of that is underpinned with our roles-based security or query-based security. So only the right data comes out of the repository to your LLM. We've already talked about the semantic understanding and how we can interpret the query coming from the user and give it a richer response. Many people have also heard about vectors and vectorization as part of LLMs. Put simply, vectors provide a programmatic way to embed an LLM's semantic understanding of your content. It's not something a human looks at, but a computer understands it. And it allows it to find relevant content. MarkLogic 12 Early Access 1, which has just been announced with new vector capabilities. So we hold those embeddings as metadata against your content, allowing you to weigh the impact of vectorization on your search results. So you can have multiple embeddings in your document supporting ChatGPT or Bard or whatever makes sense for your business. And we give you the flexibility to control how that vector plays an impact on your search results. And maybe vector's not always the right solution. What MarkLogic does is it gives you the flexibility to choose from a lexical search like CTS. You can use optic, you can use vector, you can use what works best to meet your business needs and to delight your customers. The whole industry is moving really fast and no one is clear on where the future is going. So we allow you to control your data, build your knowledge, leverage your smarter content to meet your goals. So coming back to Phil's slide from earlier about 30% of projects that fail. Well, for the 70% of projects that progress beyond a POC, we can help provide the governance, the controls, the trustworthiness to reach production at scale. with the Progress Data Platform simplifying that tech stack and allowing you to get to production. And for the 30%, well, I'm assuming they're not using Progress Data Platform. So, come and talk to us and we'll see if we can help. The last thing I want to mention is, we've covered a lot of topics very quickly today. There's a lot more for you to follow up on if you're interested. So please do go and have a look at some of these other resources. And with that, I would like to hand over to Balvinder to talk about some real-world customer use cases about how we implement this technology. Balvinder, over to you.
Thank you, James, Philip, for giving us the opportunity to present some real-world use cases about smart content and how we are working with some customers, our joint customers, with using MarkLogic and Semaphore together in building smart content and which is helping our customers enhance the efficiency, accuracy, and user experience using the content that they have created. And in this talk, I'm going to showcase two real-world examples. First is about Syngenta, who are an ag tech leader who have built an AI-driven smart content solution using NLP and machine learning, which allows them to organize and search through vast amounts of structured and unstructured data from various sources. And the second use case is from a major pharmaceutical company who are currently trialing and building a smart content solution, and actually an AI-powered chatbot built on top of the smart content that answers compliance-related queries from their policy document. This solution boosts the productivity and ensures consistency and meets the regulatory requirements of the user. So first, a brief introduction about who we are. So we are a partner of Progress, working with MarkLogic and Semaphore technologies for many years. And we help build intelligent platforms and smart content platforms using your data and using proven technologies such as MarkLogic and Progress Semaphore. We have about 100 plus specialized data and AI consultants. We have nearshore and offshore talent, and we're working with few large enterprise customers. And we focus on, extracting business value from structured and unstructured data. So some of the benefits of, smart content that have already been discussed, I'll just reiterate. This is a unified data layer platform that you can build using MarkLogic and Progress Semaphore. Is you connect your data, and data could be relational or unstructured, coming into different formats. You after connecting and getting all the data together in the MarkLogic Data Hub, you can enrich it using the Semaphore semantic AI platform and doing NLP and entity extraction. And as you heard from James, there are LLM integration in the new versions, which allows you to then extract better entities out of unstructured text. And then comes the consumption of this data. And you can build various applications for consumption of this data. So you can build a knowledge graph, you can build a cognitive search application, you can build a predictive analytics and predictive insights application, which gives automated insights to your users. In the regulatory world, you can build a better business intelligence applications, and you can plug in generative AI, which is coming up in, as James mentioned in MarkLogic 12e now, support for vector. So you can mix and match and start generating vectors out of your existing private data repositories, and then start using those for giving insights to the users of your applications. And it has a lot of advantages. It gives you the whole context. It provides better quality of your data, security, governance, so all those things. But the outcomes you receive out of it are trusted AI. It helps you with the smarter decisions. It improves customer experience, and it also helps in building and monetizing your data and building better products. So I'll talk about the first use case now, which is called Synapse. It's a new generation of enterprise search solution that Syngenta built, and it's built on top of MarkLogic, and it uses NLP, machine learning, traditional technologies to ingest and organize the data, and then query this digital content from um, which has come from both internal and external data sources. So we integrated about 40 different data sources. Prior to this application being built, the R&D teams of Syngenta used to go to various different websites, Google Scholar, you go to PubMed, and they used to search for what external information is available, what research is happening in crop protection by other competitors, go to the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency's website, other regulatory bodies' websites in Europe, in UK, and then find what other research is happening outside their organization, as well as to search within their organization. They used to go to traditional search technologies to try and find information, in search point, using search point search. And so there were a lot of data silos. And this particular Synapse AI search solution solved multiple problems for them. It provided them to collate all the data from these 40 data sources into one search engine database, which is MarkLogic, find the relevant information, and this information was enriched using NLP techniques, and as well as recently we integrated LLM also to this solution, so I'll talk about that a bit later, and really build a knowledge graph using chemical ontologies and taxonomies. And once you've built that knowledge graph and enriched your data, you can then provide cognitive search using MarkLogic. And this helped the R&D scientists, in finding all the information in one place. It provides, a lot of savings in productivity gains, and the research teams are able to reduce a lot of man hours that they used to spend earlier to find this information, and really help them in finding relevant information quickly. And recently we have done enhancements to this application where we've integrated a large language model, um, and this is an example of private data, private LLM. We've integrated an open source LLM model on top of this, which then allows the scientists to really start using the capabilities of generative AI to maybe summarize their result set. So let's say they do the search here in the application, and I'll show you a quick screenshot of how it looks. So let's say you are doing a search on a azoxystrobin chemical substance, which is a semantic search, and you filter it by certain document type, certain literature, and then you can see what documents are relevant to me. Now we've recently done an LLM integration where you can now say, okay, 872 documents match my search results out of 40 million documents. Can you please summarize what is in this 800 documents, right? Or you can filter further. So you can really build a use case here where search results can be fed into LLM to get summaries, or use those generative AI capability to find the information and get insights from a specific set of documents. So you can imagine different R&D scientists working on different projects, collaborating with each other, sharing knowledge with each other. And you see on the right, there's a my folder concept here. So you can share, build your projects, share with your other colleagues, and then say, okay, let's use Gen AI LLM to maybe find more insights from this data, which these models can do quickly for you. So it's a very good use case, and real world use case on how smart content and enriched data using MarkLogic and semaphore technologies can be used to improve a better research and R&D outcomes for this particular ag tech company. The second use case I'm going to talk about is a trial that we are doing with a large pharmaceutical company, Roche. They the trial we are running with them is to build an LLM-based chatbot that uses a comprehensive FAQ system, which is linked to their policy document. So again, their private data repository, which they're using to build a comprehensive FAQ system. Actually, in this case, the documents that we're using are all publicly available, so there's public information, but it is used by the legal and policy team, which receive hundreds of queries from their employees every day. And these are large volumes of queries and very small team to answer it. And these queries can be complex because you can imagine a global pharma company like Roche having offices in various different geographies. They have to answer these questions based on the local regulations and the geography in which the employee is asking the question. So what we are developing for them is using our data with Rover platform, and I'll talk about Rover in a bit, which allows them to then build an LLM based chatbot to answer compliance queries based on the geography and local regulations. And it also provides ability to the subject matter experts in the policy team to feedback and influence the chatbot, by giving feedback that what answers that you're getting are right or wrong. And it gives you the full, this system also gives the full provenance of the information. So, that whether where the response came from, right? Which particular section of the document was used to answer this question. So you can give that feedback also. And this is, again, with the power of Mark Logic and Semaphore, you have control over your data. And so you can actually tell where the answers came from, and you can, uh, influence the LLMs in giving better response. And the results of this is currently still in pilot phase. They've done one trial, it's in the fourth month of trial now, and they're iterating and improving the system now, and they're seeing a lot of productivity gains for the policy team. They're seeing better results for the users. It provides a better user experience, and it also meets their regulatory and compliance needs. So as I mentioned, this system that they're trialing is built on Data with Rover, which is a knowledge graph and LLM platform built on top of Mark Logic, integrated fully with Semaphore. It's an intelligent system that allows you to, organize diverse data into meaningful connections and allows you to search and gain new insights from that information. It already has 150 plus data connectors with, to get your data from relational data sources, unstructured data sources, blob storage, S3 buckets, SharePoint. Most of the things we already have a connector built in. You can ingest your data into Mark Logic, harmonize your data, then enrich your data using Semaphore's technology and you can load your taxonomies and ontologies into Semaphore and then use those for enrichment and classification. Or now you can use LLM models also to provide you that entity extraction and build your knowledge graph. Once the knowledge graph has been built, you can then use it for data discovery or for building chatbots or for knowledge discovery or building other data products on top of it. So in case of Roche, what they have done is build this knowledge graph using their policy documents, and then now they are using to basically build a chatbot, which then they can roll out to their employees who can ask policy related questions. So now I'm going to demo the solution to you, the Roche solution to you. Okay. So this is the Data with Rover platform. Um, it it's showing only 5 policy files here, which have been loaded into the system. These are 5 policy files from coming from Roche, and it's behaviors in business directive and various policy documents. This Rover interface allows you to do semantic search, cognitive search interface. So you can type something, and if that particular entity is already been tagged by your NLP engine, it shows you. So you will see it saying organization equal to Roche group, which is a way of doing semantic search, or email address. So certain entities have already been tagged, and that's what you see. So named entity recognition, and you can use that to do your search. Then it gives you snippets of the search result. And then the main use case that I wanted to showcase today was the chatbot use case. So let's go into that chatbot use case. So we have various different models integrated here. You can have your own local model, which is hosted in house, so none of your data goes to for training. You can use Bedrock or OpenAI. So let me open a new tab, which is the chat window here. And let's ask, a couple of questions, that I was talking about. So like with any generative AI solution, that it takes a bit of time. And the benefit here is that the question that we are asking is not just going to Gen AI. It is going to um, MarkLogic search. It's going to the knowledge graph that has been developed based on the query that is being asked. It does a natural language extraction of the query. Then the query concepts are being sent to MarkLogic to get the particular uh, you know uh, paragraphs or snippets which are relevant, and those are being fed to LLM to give the response. So in this case, is there a limit on the gift that I could accept? And it tells you, what is the limit, what is the policy, and it also tells you what are the sources from where this information is coming. So let's ask another question. So what are the key elements from an EU competition law perspective? And so the benefit here is that the answers are not just coming from LLM. It's your private data, your knowledge graph that is being fed into the LLM to answer the right question. And you see, it also gives you provenance. It also tells you from where the information came from. So it's pointing to the exact page where the information was found. So if I click on it, it tells you, okay, this is the page from where the information was found. And based on this, the answer was provided to the user. What are the key elements from the competition law, shows us where the document came from. And there's another view we have built which allows users using this to be able to see how various entities are related to each other and the various laws are related to each other. So let's say if we pick up the behaviors and business directive and go to the graph view, it shows all the entities that have been extracted from this document, and how, what are the different policies and what are the different relationships. So it shows you all the triples information and all the the relationship between the various concepts that have been extracted from that particular document. So I think this covers the demo bit. I'll go back, I'll stop sharing and share again quickly. So this particular chatbot solution has been currently under trial and being built with specific capabilities. However, the main capabilities that the platform provides, data integration. This comes out of the box with MarkLogic. You can integrate all your structured and unstructured data, named entity recognition, and enrichment and classification using the semaphore. You can do this, load your ontologies, enrich your data, build your knowledge graph, extract all the entities, and then on top of that, you can build rich visualizations. Provides you cognitive search, and all of these things are built using, on top of the UI that I was showing you, is built using programmatic APIs. And so it's modular. You can build any kind of UI, any kind of visualization on top of it. In this case, they're building a chatbot. You can build a cognitive search platform. You can build a predictive analytics application. You can build a generative AI application where you can generate content using your existing content. So all kinds of use cases can be built using this platform. And it accelerates your development. It works on top, and it reduces your total cost of ownership. It accelerates the innovation, by making it easier to find existing information. And it helps in, enhance decision making for your R&D teams or for whatever use case you're trying to solve. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for.
Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened there. James, did I cut you off by accident? Bear with me 2 seconds. Let me see this. Oh, there you go. You're back on there. There we go. There you go. Are you back on now? Let's see if your microphone's working. I'll do the same with Balvinder. Let's do this. and send an unmute request. There we go. Don't know why GoToWebinar is having a funny 5 minutes. Hi there, gentlemen.
Hi. You hear us
Hi,
okay?
Philip.
Yes, I can hear you now. I don't know what went on there. I was having microphone problems, webcam problems, all fun and games. Thank you very much, Balvinder, for that presentation. I think that's what James was just about to say there. Really good, really interesting to see what you guys have been able to achieve with the MarkLogic products there from an LLM perspective. And James, thank you very much for the presentation as well. We'll just go into a quick sort of Q&A for you gentlemen. But I mean, one of the first questions I've got, and maybe you can probably both answer this, is what challenges are there to deploying a working RAG solution in practice? James, maybe if you go first, and Balvinder, you can kind of learn from your experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things to look at, and really the whole point of the series of webinars that we've done, is to look at the structure of your content, making sure that your content is in a format that we can enrich with the right metadata, with the right concepts, and that you've built a knowledge graph behind it that adds that added value and that added context. So it's not enough just to search for keywords in content. You need that knowledge graph behind to really promote the context to the RAG solution to get more accurate answers.
Yeah.
Balvinder, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree with James. I mean, you can do multiple different RAG approaches, but the knowledge graph RAG approach, which is, putting knowledge graph behind it and using RAG with it, is way more powerful, is what we have seen with the implementation we are doing with customers, because the knowledge graph has all the relationship, has all the entities extracted, and when you feed that subgraph or a portion of the graph based on users query and what they're trying to ask to the LLM, the answers that the LLM is able to give is much more insightful and much more richer in terms of, otherwise if you're just feeding documents and asking the questions.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess as well, like, organizations are looking at this for scale for their solutions, so it's kind of having that right fundamental technology under there that not only can handle that knowledge graph, but also the scale of queries that are coming through as more and more people are using Gen AI in their kind of daily workflow. And kind of related to this, but so how can we measure the success of the value of the solution that we've suggested here? James, what's kind of the best way, from a customer success perspective, to kind of measure that?
Yeah, I think you have to be clear about where's the business value for your customers. What's the driver behind you taking this approach? How are you going to add more efficiency to your platform? How are you going to add more value to your business and generate more income? And then really it's a case of, looking at those metrics, and during the POC, making sure that we're hitting those. You need to perhaps have some content that you're clear on, some common questions you're going to ask, or you think your users might ask, and the ideal responses that you have. And then during a POC, we can start to prove how close we get to those ideal responses and see whether that solution is going to add value and delight your customers, because it's all about engaging them, keeping them on board, and giving them trustworthy responses.
Yeah, and Balvinder, from your experience, what sort of measures are people putting in place to kind of measure these experiments that go into production, that type of thing?
Yeah, so what we are seeing, in the the Roche example I was giving, they are trialing, and they are trying to compare what is the outcome they're getting from their current systems or current technologies versus if they use this technology, what outcomes. And what we have observed is, and trying to have some metrics, as James was saying, have your metrics defined up front, how you're going to measure the success or the failure of a POC or a pilot or whatever you're trying to achieve for your customers and for the data products that you're building. And in that particular example, they are comparing what the current process gives them versus what this technology is giving, how how much better it is or how bad it is, the comparison. And what we are seeing is that the feedback we're getting from our customers in that particular, from a subject matter expert and customers in that particular case, is that it's way better. It's like it is giving them much better responses, more accurate. And what customers really want to see is provenance, because there is, of course, the hallucination that you were talking about, that James mentioned. That's a major concern. And also, security of the data. So it is very important that I showed in the demo the provenance, right? Like you're able to see where the answer came from. And that is very important for them. Okay, where the answer came from, right? So the hallucinations are reduced. And secondly, put some access control on top of it, right? So data with Rovo we've built on top of MarkLogic, so it has all the features and all the security features that MarkLogic offers out of the box. The access control. So your users, when they're coming, they will not be given answers from an LLM from something which they don't have access to, right? So based on the level, the role-based access control that comes with the MarkLogic security is all there. When you put the right technology in place, it comes out of the box.
Yeah, and that works both ways, doesn't it? That works on the not just the from the response from the LLM, but also in that prompting. Users have access to a certain set of data based on their role, and or query, by the way. So if looking at specific types of data or specific types of content, then you can restrict that. So that really keeps that safe and secure. How can the Gen AI differentiate between sort of public and private data in the responses? Is there a way to kind of flag that, oh, look, this is available from here, but this has actually come from an internal source, say, for instance? Is that in the provenance, do you think, in terms of the solution when you put that in there? Is there an easy way to kind of show that?
Yes, so with the Rover platform, it's using MarkLogic's data hub capabilities, right? So if you're feeding data from public data sources or you're feeding data from private data sources, it gives you provenance to both. So it tells you whether this data came from where, and you're able to see, the public document or the public website. It will redirect you there and say, this is where I got this information from, and equally from private documents or private data that you have uploaded. And that's really you completely control your data. You are in charge of your data. And if you use something like ChatGPT, you don't know how it was trained on, where the data came from, on what basis the answer is coming. So you don't know the basis on which it is giving that answer. But in this case, that doesn't happen. You completely rule it out, and you have the full end-to-end sort of traceability of how that answer came about.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of what we call, you can change the temperature of the LLM by using prompt engineering. So you can say, you can put some configuration. So within that platform we showed you, we're building a separate administrative screen for the admins of that chatbot, who are able to give feedback to the chatbot to say, this is what we'd like, this is right or this is wrong. So we're building also a human feedback loop to make sure that there is that trustworthiness with the AI, right? It's not doing its own thing. And so there is a whole new admin functionality being built behind the scenes, and they can change a lot of things, like what kind of style they want, what kind of responses they would want the LLM to give. So you can control it in a good way.
So yeah, you're really talking about then augmented prompt engineering. So you're not relying on necessarily the users being expert prompt engineers and having to write the prompt in the right way to get the right response. You've got those subject matter experts who are going to be there going, well, if you asked it this way, it would return the right answer. So you can pre-program that into that based on the user and the individual using the system itself.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, really good. And do you need any specific sort of infrastructure to integrate the sort of Gen AI, external Gen AI solutions sort of into your enterprise systems? Or is this just the same sort of infrastructure people have been using? If they've been using MarkLogic and Semaphore for years, then is it the same sort of infrastructure that they'd be using there?
Yeah, so mostly, the same infrastructure that you have, right? Of course, for LLMs, if you're running LLMs in a private hosted solution, which we have for another trial we are doing for a public sector organization who don't want any data to go out to the LLMs for training. So we have hosted a private LLM within their own AWS VPC, and that's using some machines which have GPU capacity, because you need for reasoning, for answering. So that of course is additional cost, but if you're using the APIs provided by let's say OpenAPI, or if you're using any other LLM model like Llama 3, or some of the Facebook one, the Meta one, then if you can use the APIs, then you pay for those extra credits, or the per token usage that they provide, and use that credit against your API.
Yeah. And can we combine the sort of, because I know that vector search and vectors in general is a big thing within LLMs and Gen AI at the moment. Can we combine that sort of vector search functionality with the knowledge graph to kind of get better results?
Yeah, so I mean, you'll notice that I think we touched on it in the session that MarkLogic 12 Early Access 1 is our first public availability of our vector capabilities that we're adding to the product. And certainly you can use the vector search in there to look at the relevance ranking of your results. So when you're getting that query in from the customer, you're searching MarkLogic for the right snippets. You can use the vector search in there to bring those right documents to the top, because it's all about which segments you pass on to the LLM to feed that knowledge. So you can certainly use the vector ranking in there to help improve that. And from the analysis that we've done, you see a certain level of accuracy in terms of the result set by using typical lexical search. That improves somewhat with vector. It improves even more if you add semantics in there as well. And those things combined, which you can do in MarkLogic, then give you a really strong result set to pass to the LLM.
Yeah, and I know that we did a technical deep dive into that, introducing the vector operations within MarkLogic, and I know the team is also looking at other features to improve the use of vectors in there, and also other features related to AI. I know that the guys are also working on something called at the moment called progressive graphs, maybe call it progressive semantics, which is as your user queries the system, you capture the concepts within those queries. If it turns out that those concepts don't exist in your knowledge model, you can actually notify the subject matter expert that's managing that knowledge model, and he can add that to the model. Now that model then updates almost in real time, and so you could almost prompt the end user to ask the question 5 minutes later to say, oh, by the way, this now exists in the knowledge model. I'll send you a notification through. Here you go, Mr. Customer. We can now answer your question, which I think is a really powerful feature, because it's almost like the system gets more intelligent, or more, has more access to more data in more ways, as more and more users use it. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. It'll be interesting to see that one down the line as well. So. But thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much for joining us. Like I say, we've got all of these available on demand sessions to check out. We're going to be live in a few weeks' time in person at the MarkLogic World event in DC, in Bethesda, just outside DC. We're calling it DC, but in Bethesda, Maryland, at the Marriott Hotel. David's going to be joining us there as well. So you'll be able to ask lots of really in-depth, complicated questions of what the solution that they've built. Hopefully you can give them some good ones and some food of thought to go away with as well. So we'd love to see you there. You're available to sign up. Go to progress.com in the events and find the registration page there. Thank you very much, Balvinder, for your time today. Thank you very much, James, for putting that smart content stuff together. It's really appreciated. Hope you enjoyed this session, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.